Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record every Mondays at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time. If you enjoy the channel, please hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel. Turn notifications on and you will get an email link with this full episode. And if you want to submit to this show, take a look at the information in the description.
I've got a pretty cool seven deuce hand
Okay.
that I played, I guess, in a very exploitative way because I had ace king preflop and decided not to three bet it.
Well, let's
but
talk.
I was out of position. I think,
Yeah.
we can
Let's
talk
just
about all that.
let's talk about this, what seven deuce is before we get into this hand and why I don't like it. Okay. So the
Sure.
the seven deuce game when you're playing in live poker is usually you put a bounty. So if somebody wins at showdown or if they get to the end and they win without showdown usually, right? I think winning, if you happen to win the hand with seven deuce, you also win the bounty. But everybody agrees to put in what, like $50 or something. If someone wins at seven deuce, what, everybody gets the money, right?
And we were playing 2-5, and the table decided to make it 15 per player on the ante.
Okay, so 15 per player.
It's a nine-handed table.
Right. So the issue that I have with the seven deuce game and why I like doing other types of things like bomb pots and things like that is because most players in live poker are very predictable, and we can take very exploitable lines against like the typical 2-5 player, right? Who calls too much and doesn't really bluff enough, right? That's the bread and butter. That's why we can bet fold so liberally across many streets. So when you add this other element of a bluffing frequency in with seven deuce, I actually think it makes the game harder to play because what it ends up doing is it makes your opponents less predictable. And now all of a sudden they have a bluffing frequency. Now someone could debate me and be like, well, the action that it causes for the $15 is worth it. It's worth the extra action. That could be the case, but that's my own personal feeling with the seven deuce game. What does it do to the game that you're playing in? Does it make it a lot better?
Yeah, it just makes it more loose. I feel people they're gonna call your bets more when you're betting for value because they're just gonna level themselves into thinking you have seven deuce.
So
I noticed that
okay, so they're gonna hero call more. You're saying they just call more, and that makes up for their bluffing frequency.
Yeah, I think so. I think it makes up for it a lot. There's when we run a 2-5 game at my club, it normally is just 1-2 tables, but when we run a 2-5 game, we get a lot of those action players and they kind of go nuts when the seven deuce game is on.
Okay. All right. So
I think it's worth it.
So this game's 2-5, right? Is that right?
Yeah, it's 2-5. Mm-hmm. There's a $10 straddle on, and nine-handed, so they'll win 8 times 15 for the ante money. If they have seven deuce.
8-handed. Okay.
Yeah, or nine-handed, but you'll win 8.
Oh, right.
8 times 15. You'll win. Right. The hero won't.
But of course, that money isn't in the pot. It's just something that people will pay after the fact, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So $10 straddle on. What are the stack sizes?
I was 1,200 effective with the main villain.
Okay.
So my notes here I have he was a tag Asian reg from Rounders in San Antonio.
Okay.
He was up in Austin at the club that this took place at.
Okay.
And I recognized him from playing down at Rounders, and so I had a pretty good idea of like that he was very much a tag, and a lot of his sizings were very normal, good sizings, like the kinds that I would use, 3x over the big blind or 3x plus the limper money. All very good sizings.
Okay.
And then out of position, he would 4x. He'd do like a 4x 3-bet raise sizing. So all of the sizings were very good and like normal.
Okay.
And so in this hand, it's 2-5 with the $10 straddle. There's one limp in under the gun one. And then he's in the hijack and he raises to 75.
So 2-5-10, one limp and he makes it 75, which is pretty big, right? 2-5-10, and now assuming he's making it 75 over one limp.
Yeah, I would have expected him to make it 45 or 55.
Right. Okay.
Or 60.
Yeah.
but he goes a little bit bigger. So that was kind of the first bet sizing tell that I noticed. And then it folded to me in the small blind with ace king. I have the ace of spades and the king of hearts. And here's the first like kind of big decision point in the hand, which was I really should be 3-betting, but I decided to call because I didn't think this player would stick in, would 4-bet me with like 7 deuce for his whole stack. Because if I 3-bet, it's going to be to a sizing of like 225, like just 3x over his raise. And then the next bet would be like a shove, since I guess he could do a small 4-bet sizing, but.
So you're so what? Let me try to extrapolate what you're saying. You think that he's heavily weighted towards having 7 deuce here, basically, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm practically saying that I'm putting him on 7 deuce.
You think he's got 7
I think
deuce?
He's weighted towards 7 deuce a lot more.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why you call here in this spot.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying if you weren't playing the 7 deuce game, you would definitely 3-bet here, right? Just automatic.
Yeah, I would 3-bet here.
Okay.
If we weren't playing the 7 deuce game.
So what did the limper do?
But the limper folds.
Okay.
And so we go heads up.
Okay.
Which is the ideal situation still.
Yep.
And the flop comes queen of hearts, 10 of hearts, 8 of diamonds.
Queen of hearts, 10 of hearts, 8 of diamonds.
Yep, and there's about 175 in the pot.
Okay.
So I go ahead and check. I expect him to bet. I'm already weighting him towards 7 deuce. He obviously is going to have to bet this flop. It's a good flop for the pre-flop raiser.
Right.
I check and he bets 110.
Okay.
And I go ahead and call.
So he bets 110 into 175. You call. You have ace king with the king of hearts, so it got shot. Queen 10 8, right? Queen of hearts, 10 of hearts, 8 of diamonds. You've got it got shot to a jack. You have the nut no pair, and you highly suspect that he might be way out of whack in his bluffing frequency because of this prop game that's going on here.
Right.
Okay.
I'm weighting him heavily towards 7 deuce because of the pre-flop bet raise. And so then we go to the turn, and the turn is the deuce of hearts.
Deuce of hearts, okay.
And there's 405 in the pot.
405 in the pot. Okay, so now you've got the king of hearts in your hands, queen of hearts, 10 of hearts, 8 of diamonds, deuce of hearts. Okay.
Yep. I go ahead and check. And he checks back.
Okay.
So the check back is where I kind of really solidified that this guy's got 7 deuce. Because he
paired his deuce.
Yeah, because he paired his deuce and he's checking to get the showdown.
Yeah.
So now he could be doing this like if he has good hands like aces or ace queen. This is a turn he would check anyway. So
it's just a reflection of the fact that you might have more suited hands than he does in the form of a flush. Although when you look at it, when you pull it back, like how many suited hands are you cold calling with in the small blind here to a 7.5x open, which is kind of interesting, right? Because you've got a very, very tight pre-flop configuration going on here, right? From the small blind.
Yeah, it would be like suited broadways that I would cold call.
Right.
So
and there's two suited cards, and there's
Broadway.
There's 2 Broadways out there, and the other 2 suited Broadway would be like a huge combo draw, right? Like a king jack of hearts or something like that. So there aren't that many when you think about it, and I think sometimes people go into autopilot in the position of your opponent, and they sometimes get lost because I think that in this particular configuration, he shouldn't be all that concerned about hearts for that very reason. Looking at the distribution of the board. Okay, so it goes check.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the river is a break. It's like a offsuit 4.
Okay.
4 of clubs.
Yep.
And I'm very certain he's just going to check back.
Yeah.
And I'll lose because now I'm just putting him on 7 deuce.
Yep.
So I need to bet to win the pot. And I couldn't really figure out a good sizing for the river. I ended up just betting 250.
Okay.
Just over half pot, but that's actually like a really small bet. And with the ante money, juicing the pot up another like 120 for the villain. If you were to win with 7 deuce, it's actually like he has really good pot odds to call that bet. But I mean, I guess I'm wondering what bet size would you make on the river?
Well, I mean, this is kind of a very, very sort of unique situation, right? Because you sort of this sort of out. It's very possible that your opponent can have a hand that he should never show up with, right? Like in a real game, which would be like a. I mean, I guess the only thing that would be the equivalent to it would be like if he somehow started a bluff with ace deuce of diamonds, raising preflop and hit a deuce on the turn, right? Would be such a small portion of his range, in a regular situation. But going back to one of the other callers from earlier today, the theory is that like if you want to polarize here your hand to like a flush or better, you want to give your opponent, a worse price. But if you feel like he's just because this game is going on so much that now all of a sudden there's an additional 12 combinations of hands that he should never have in the form of 7 deuce, right? With a deuce being out there. And he's going to fold to a normal size bet. I don't think you need to polarize necessarily, but I mean, betting 250, I think seems to be, I can't imagine how he would, like, what hand do you have here that's a bluff? I guess it could be king jack suited, right? We would never think that you'd have ace king, right? So it's real. I mean, there's there's so few combos of bluffs here. Your hand is perceived to be so strong that I don't know if the guy's a hand reader, I don't know if you need to bet that much to bet him off a 7 deuce.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is I didn't need to bet large because of just cold calling his raise pre-flop. I should have a lot of strong hands. Like I can have all the flushes.
Yeah.
And some top pair hands. King, queen.
By the way, you do have king. Some in the chat saying that king jack suited. You don't have king jack suited. I think you do, right? You do have king jack suited, but it's just such a small. It makes sense that you have king jack, but that's like literally the only hand that a guy can beat here, right? With ace high or with a deuce. So I don't have a problem with the way that you played the hand, really. If I was in your opponent's perspective and I had 7 deuce, would that lend itself to being better pot odds? Sure. I mean, the pot is 655, and now if he wins the bounty, it's actually like he's calling 250 for actually like 770, right? If it's 115. So yeah, you might want to size up a little bit more if you're thinking at that level that you just want to give him worse pot odds because of this bounty type of scenario going on with 7 deuce. What ended up happening?
And also his range also, if he's not just doesn't have just 7 deuce, if he has aces or ace queen, I need to put a lot of pressure on those hands too.
Right. He can have some real hands too, right? He can have some real hands too. So if you had bet maybe like 350 to 400, it could be, talking through this because he gets better pot odds, and also it might make some other hands that he has like entirely indifferent. Like if he had like king queen of clubs, which blocks like one of your king jack combos, right? And he doesn't have a heart in his hand, like that's a pretty hard call to make at the end with king queen of clubs, right? If you bet like 350,
right?
Like it's like, what does this guy have? So what ended up happening?
Well, he didn't take very long, and he called. Okay. I showed ace king, and he showed 7 deuce. So I just got really fucking owned.
Well, that's good observation by you, though, James. So, James,
honestly, the preflop, I thought the preflop was a big mistake too. After talking with some other friends about it,
I mean,
I'm letting him realize his equity.
Yeah, I mean
even with 7 deuce.
I mean, yeah, and the other thing too is like it's not like you have aces here, right? I mean, that's the thing sometimes trapping with ace king is that you get into some very, very sticky spots where you end up with no pair at the end. Like if you trap with ace king, if you're not trapping and you're out of position and you're not trapping to try to like jam somebody else, right? Like back raise jam. Yeah, ace king's a strong hand, but it becomes a non-paired hand quite a bit, right? And then you get into a sticky situation, right. So it's different from aces. I mean, in general, I would have 3-bet also, but it's kind of a cool little thing to think about. But anyways, I'll see you, right? I'll see you in Austin this week. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.